Right, Janet, will you explain to us the use of acronyms, please?
Well, Mary's talked about the names of various political parties. So she mentioned SWAPO, for example, and she also mentioned AZAPO. Now these are still abbreviations. South West African People's Organization. So you've got a whole title which you've now brought down into an abbreviation. So Mary said abbreviations are still shortened forms. Yes, they are. And acronyms are shortened forms. But when you say the abbreviation as a new word, then we talk about an acronym. So you're taking the initial letters of the name of these political parties, the Azanian People's Party, you're taking the initial letters and you're turning it into a new word, and then we talk about an acronym. Now you know again from your roots that NIM is a word, so an acronym is a word made from an abbreviation, and there are lots of examples. You are meant to know some of them. So for example, you might see UNESCO, and you'll see this in the newspapers or you hear about it on television, and you are meant to be able to say, yes, it is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And some of my learners say, oh, we're meant to know that. You're meant to be reading, I'm afraid. You're meant to read and you're meant to pick up common acronyms. And then ones that you will know, AIDS, for example. I'm sure everybody's okay with AIDS. And remember, HIV is an abbreviation, whereas AIDS is an acronym. So you need to be able to explain this. If you got this in an exam and they said, are these abbreviations or acronyms? You need to say that's an abbreviation because it's pronounced HIV, so we're using the initial letters, and that's AIDS, it's a new word. So there is a definition of acronym for you, a word made up from the initial letters of a group of words. And there are examples for you. NATO, which Mary talked about, UNESCO I've talked about, and AIDS. And two other very common acronyms is SONAR and SCUBA. And in fact, they are so common now that people don't even know that they're acronyms. They actually think that they are simply words to describe whatever that is. So if you say I'm going scuba diving, people don't actually think of that as an acronym. So it's that common now. But you are meant to be able to recognize the difference between an abbreviation and an acronym, and you are meant to know common acronyms. So pick them up in your reading, newspapers especially, magazines. That'll give you commonly used and up-to-date acronyms.
I think it's also important for them to know these acronyms because they appear quite often in tests and examinations.
They do.
And if you're not well read, you will not be able to identify the acronyms. The next assessment standard is use dictionaries and a thesaurus effectively for different purposes such as researching meanings, word origins and pronunciation.
Remember that there's no such thing as the dictionary. My students often say to me, I can't find this word in the dictionary, as if there were just one. Now, there aren't. There are lots of dictionaries. And I've brought just a few to show you today. Now, if we take something like this, this is the Chambers Macmillan, but look at it, it is for the senior phase. So this is grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. It says that it's got 18,000 words, but it's actually a very small dictionary. There are lots of things that you are not going to find in this dictionary. So if you were to look up something, and this morning we were talking about cornucopia in my class, and I doubt that that's going to be in this dictionary. So you're going to look up cornucopia. So it's C-O-R-N-U, and this one says cornflake. Well, we know what cornflakes are. Cornflower and coronary. So it's not in here. So don't say, oh, the word's not in the dictionary. You say, ah, I knew this was a tiny dictionary. I knew I wasn't going to find it in that one. So you go for a bigger dictionary. So here I've got the Macmillan Dictionary for advanced learners. Now, one isn't very sure if it's going to be in this one either, but you start looking in this. Now, this is for students, so you know that it should take you right through to grade 12 and maybe even into university. So we look up cornucopia, and actually it is in here. And it tells us that a cornucopia is a large quantity and variety of something good. And you think, but hang on, how did I get to a large quantity and variety of something good from cornucopia? So you think, no, I really need to know more about this word. I don't understand why it's spelt that way. I don't understand anything about it. So now you go to a bigger dictionary, and this is what confuses my learners. This one is a bigger dictionary than this one. Now why? Because this one looks so much bigger. I mean, look at the size difference, but it's not. This is the Pocket Oxford, and it's a bigger dictionary than this one. Why? What's nice about this Macmillan dictionary is that it gives you explanations in sentences and in simple English. You heard the definition of cornucopia. If we just open it any old where, we have foretaste, and it says, an example of something that will happen in the future to a greater degree. You can hear how the person writing or compiling, there'll be lots of people compiling this dictionary with one editor. They're trying to say it in simple English so that you understand. How often, Mary, have your learners said, I looked up this word and I got another word and I didn't understand that word either, so I looked up that word and I got a third word and I didn't understand that word, so I looked up that word and I got the first word. And all you've been done is you've been sent in a circle and you say, that's it, these dictionaries are useless. So that's what a student's dictionary is meant to be about, explaining it in simple language that you can understand. But if it's not helping you, you put it aside. Now we're going to go to the Little Oxford. Now this is just the Pocket Oxford, and again we're not sure entirely what we're going to get for cornucopia. So we look this up here and we get symbol of plenty consisting of a goat's horn overflowing with flowers and fruit. And it says we must look up corn and we must look up copious. So what we've got in this dictionary is a reference that goes further than the student's dictionary. So it tells us that it's a horn. So if we look up corn, and it's corn number 2. So now we're looking up corn number 2, not corn number 1, and it says that it has to do with, doesn't help us much. It talks about various things, but there, cornu tells us here that it says cornu is a horn. So if I were to draw this, and let's just have a look. Let me show you the word first of all. This is the word I've been looking up, is cornucopia. And it tells me that cornu is a horn. Right, now if we were to draw this horn, we draw something like that. And it says that it's overflowing with fruit and flowers. So let's have some sort of very odd looking apples and flowers that are coming out of the horn over here. It's a banana, Mary. What does it look like? A bit like a fish.
It looks like a fish, yes.
Okay, so there is our cornucopia with flowers and fruits pouring out of it. And we're told to look up copious, and I'm sure copious is a word that you do know, meaning that you've got a lot of something. So we've got the copia, and we're asked to look up this word, and you end up with a horn with plenty of things in it. So we didn't get that when we looked up the student's dictionary, but we did when we looked up the Pocket Oxford. So what it's giving us here is the root of the word. So we now know that this is the root. But what it hasn't yet given us, and we'd have to go to a bigger dictionary, is where cornu comes from. Oh no, I'm wrong. Just in front of it, it is written like this. Let me show you. It's got a square bracket, it's got an L, and it says cornu is a horn, and the closes the square bracket. This is what is telling you where this word comes from. So now we know that it comes from Latin.